It can be very easy when you're highly sensitive to believe that you're weak or that there's something wrong with you. This video is going to help you see this from a different perspective to begin to turn your sensitivity into a strength. My name is Adam. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm a freedom and clarity coach. I help people get freedom from their past, their traumas, their blocks, and clarity around their purpose and how to live their best life. Before I get started today, I just want to let you know I'm doing free breakthrough calls. There is a link pinned in the comment section below. These are 30-minute calls where we go over your vision for your life, what's stopping you, and what you can do to create what you want. My entire life, I've been extremely sensitive. And I remember being a little kid and just knowing something wasn't quite right. Like, not that it was wrong, but see, there it is. It's like I thought something wasn't quite right, like something was different. Just that sense that I was different immediately made me feel like something was wrong. Can you relate? Does this make sense? When we're kids and we feel a little bit like out of sync or out of the ordinary, it's very easy to take that in sort of a judgmental fashion or a negative fashion. I was always more sensitive than any of the males and more than many of the females too, and it made me feel off. It just led me into this state of self-judgment. I didn't have a lot of discipline as a kid. I was taught people, I was taught how to treat others, I was taught like relationships and how to take responsibility for my actions, but I wasn't given a lot of discipline. So growing up, I was really sensitive, I was tired all the time, and then I didn't have to do much. So it kind of made me a bit physically weak. And that led me into drug addiction because the drug addiction was a way to shut off my hypersensitivity. In fact, heroin was the only thing that calmed down my nervous system. I was so empathic and so psychic, but also so unaware that that's what was even going on. I just felt like my skin was crawling all the time with almost like parasites. And so I just blew through drugs, marijuana, alcohol, ecstasy, acid, cocaine. None of this did anything until I did heroin. And heroin was the only thing that made me feel like I could just sit in the moment and be. But the thing was, when I got sober, I had gone through 10 years of like a descent into hell. And then my sensitivity was like through the roof and I had no coping skills and I was in horrible shape. And I basically spent 10 years checking out, lying on a bed, nodding off. So it was quite a wake-up call when I went into rehab, and they taught us discipline, they taught us action, they taught us structure, they taught us all of this. But what happened with me was I had developed this belief that, one, I had wasted a lot of my life, which caused me to want to make up for lost time, but also that I was this wafy, spoiled, entitled sort of brat. And there was a little bit of truth to this. But I had a hyper judgment about this. And so in order to compensate, it started this mechanism in myself that drove me to build muscles, to build resilience, to build my power. And some of this was good because it was needed. I worked a lot of jobs that were hard, like, waiting tables. I mean, that's not as hard as like roofing, but we would carry these molcajete bowls, like multiple pounds, like back and forth across, like almost the size of a football, not like almost the half of a football field, like for hours at a time. And I mean, it was brutal in many ways. And there was no fulfillment. But some part of me kept telling myself, you need this, you need this, you need this. Because you need to overcome the fact that you were entitled or you were weak. And many, many years after I'd already built discipline, after I'd already built strength, after I'd already built resilience, I was still, and even to this day, have had a hard time allowing my life to get really good, allowing my life to get easier because of this judgment. Does this make sense? Do you have any similarities? Do you find that like you have a hard time letting things land in your life? And do you know where that comes from? Is it perhaps from thinking that, there's strength in the suffering, there's strength in the struggling? Or Maybe you felt like a piece of shit because you were sensitive, but it actually wasn't you. It was the other energy that you took on, or it was just the fact that you felt different. And what I've come to realize very strongly recently is that even though I did need some discipline, and it is important to, like, especially as sensitive people, as empaths, as psychics, as spiritual people, to really build our nervous system, because in 3D you need a tough nervous system. Fight training, exercise, all of these things are really good for sensitive people. But not when it's coming from a place of judgment. And I've come to understand that I wasn't anywhere near as weak as I thought. I was just more aware. I was just more aware. When you're aware, you kind of see how fucked up things are in many ways on this planet. And you have a strong feeling about it. And you have a strong feeling of powerlessness and helplessness, because what are you supposed to do? And when we're kids and we don't even know what any of this is, some of our coping mechanisms involve just kind of shutting down and recoiling because it's too much. But maybe it's too much, A, because we don't really know how to properly adapt, and 2, because of all the judgment, because of all the condemnation, and because that's how everybody else tends to deal with things. There's stigmas around, trauma, addiction, sensitivity, being empathic. There's basically stigmas around everything except conforming to just being like an automaton, doing whatever the system wants you to do. So where are your gifts? How is your sensitivity a gift? How is your sensitivity a strength? Because the thing with sensitivity is it responds immensely to any field of energy. So if you are sensitive and you have a judgment that you're weak, or you have a judgment that there's something wrong with you, it's going to suck the life out of you very fast. And you're going to become weak, because ultimately we are just what we think we are. But if you're highly sensitive and you give that same part of you love and encouragement, and you see these things that you have as gifts and superpowers, it's a very common, YouTube word, superpowers, but it's true, then they become so. And you thrive on a very high scale. Most people who are really sensitive are here to move the world forward, to make very profound shifts in the level of consciousness on the planet. It's a very important mission and a very important purpose. And I'm not saying other people don't have this. I don't know. I just know that the spiritually minded, empathic people have a very, what could be heavy burden, but it's not. It's actually a gift. It's an important thing that we're doing. And we're not helpless, we're not powerless, we're not condemned to be weak and drained all the time. There are ways to flip these things into our gifts. And I'll do other videos on this specifically. But the first step is recognizing them as such. Recognizing that you have a mission, recognizing that you're part of an epic shift from a crumbling, dark, twisted world into a spiritual civilization where the sensitive people thrive. Let's define a little bit what sensitivity actually is. In order to define sensitivity, we have to talk a little bit about spirituality. And I feel like there's a lot of just sort of weird perceptions about spirituality. Like people be like, I'm spiritual, like you're not spiritual, I'm spiritual, like there is a difference. And I get it. When someone says they're spiritual, what that really means is they're just more consciously aware of what we all are anyway. Like everyone's spiritual, everyone's spirit, everyone is made up of source energy. You're just like a little more focused on it, like consciously. That's all that means. But when all we are is source energy, and source energy is everything, it feels, it thinks, it knows everything. The more sensitive you are, the more aware you are of everything that's going on. Does that feel disempowering? or like something that would make you weak? No, not at all. It's a greater level of awareness and a greater access to awareness and a greater access to the experiencing of spirituality, humanity, all of it. Now, when we live in an environment that's very toxic and negative, we're more aware of the toxicity and negativity and therefore more affected by it until we learn how to basically stay unaffected, or how to take that sort of darkness or negativity and transmute it and flip it around. The key to this, though, is it does not involve taking it from outside, bringing it into our systems and flipping it around. It involves taking what we already have that matches what's outside within us now, transmuting it. And then we send those codes out to everybody else so they can do it too. The problem with sensitivity has come from eons of being so hyper-focused outwardly. So all of the mechanisms that we use for self-development, for transmutation, for spirituality are tainted by our misperception that we need to go out there and get it. We need to go out there and do it. We need to go out there and fix it. So anytime there's anything in your environment that's bothering you, ask yourself what it is in you that is attracting that in. And you have power to heal and transmute all of that within yourself, and only what is yours. The rest of it is not your problem and it's not your business. By you flipping these codes in yourself, other people learn how to do it for themselves just naturally. Well, let me know how that goes for you. Let me know if you have judgments around yourself for being sensitive, or if you feel like you're weak because of it, and how you could flip that perspective. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Peace.